Up everyone, welcome to the Power Play with CJ. I've been focusing on the Boston Bruins for our 2016-2017 team previews. Obviously, Boston has been a team I've given a lot of shit to, and rightfully so, because they have been really good at being mediocre the last 2 years. Not good at being bad like Buffalo or Toronto, where you can get some blue chip prospects, but not good enough to be good, which isn't good either. So you look at it, I mean, can this team get back to the level they were, 3-4 years ago? Well, not with this group, not with this nucleus. There's going to need to be some major sweeping changes in this organization, and there will be some youth infused. I think, before we go into the roster breakdown, I think we'll see Danton Heinen next year. I think we'll see Sean Corrali. I think we'll see Zarnik. I think we'll see Brandon Carlo on defense, who I'm very excited about. Jake DeBrusk will turn pro this year, so I think there's a very good chance we see him, in spurts with them. And likewise, Zach Senyshyn, a better than 0% chance that he's up. They're hyping him up. I personally think he's of the year in junior hockey, but we'll see what happens. I don't think he'll make the team, but it's a better than 0% chance, which I know is like saying, it could happen. So, and it would shock me, but again, it's one of those things given the way this team works, and the fact that they love to do random shit. It's something that could happen. Start on defense. Not a whole lot going on there. I mean, you have a soon-to-be 40-year-old Zdeno Chara, Torrey Krug coming off surgery, John Michael Isles is re-signed. If the team was good like it used to be, he'd be a great, bottom pairing guy that could help you on the power play. That's not the case. Here's what he is. Adam McQuaid's disappointing over the last couple of years. They've essentially got him and Kevin Miller, who are both essentially redundant players. I don't get it. Colin Miller is a guy that, I'd like to see him take the reins off him a little bit. I think he was in Claude's doghouse way too much last year, and I think Claude Julien has to learn, particularly with younger players, take a good with the bad. Hit Harv on a turnover, but, ignore the fact that he's one of the few guys that was willing to, rush the puck and make plays happen in transition. So, hey, what do I know? But, this blue line is not great. Again, I think we'll see the behemoth from Tri-City, Brandon Carlo, for spells next year. And I hope, he's a really good young player. I'm excited to watch, his next step in his development. Power play with CJ t-shirt owner, by the way, so take that for what it's worth. Goaltending, Tuukka Rask took a lot of shit last year from the Boston media, Boston fans. Trade Tuukka, he sucks. Let's get our, torches and pitchforks out. And, given the fact that he was not great. I mean, he's pulling up his numbers now. 915 save percentage was 30th in the league. Goals against was 28th. So, take that for what it's worth. And the fact that he didn't start that game against Ottawa on the last day of the season, not a good look for him. So, again, the fans aren't totally thrilled with the way the direction this team's going in, and rightfully so. I've always been kind of a Tuukka Rask apologist. But there comes a time where you gotta say, you gotta wake up and smell the roses, and we'll see what he does next year. But a big thing is that defense in front of him sucks. So, if he gets off to a bad start, they're really gonna come after him, which I don't think is totally fair because again, their defense sucks. But he's got to be better. When you're making that kind of money and you're that talented, doesn't matter if I'm playing in front of you. It'd be better than 30th in the league in save percentage. Just the way it goes especially when you're again making that kind of money at that position. Which leads us to the forwards. Not bad, honestly. If they had a better D core that could move the puck and get the transition going, get the breakout going, I'd like this forward group. But given the fact that their D is an unmitigated disaster, it's not exactly a murderer's row that puts the fear of God into opposing, goalies and defensemen. I was against David Backes signing from day one. I'm just not a guy that I wanted to have at that price for those years, particularly with this team not going anywhere during that spell. I think I'd rather put that money towards a defenseman or, saved it to pay the young kids, but whatever. It's not my money, it's Jeremy Jacobs. And Donny Boy Sweeney has free range to spend it however the fuck he wants. So, that's just one thing. And the thing I think with Backus is he going to play the wing? Is he going to play center? If they move him to center, or if they keep him at center, it's his natural position, I think it takes away from what Ryan Spooner did last year. And Spooner sneakily had a very, very good year last year. And it seems like, 6 years into being with this organization, he's finally gotten out of closed doghouse, which is good. I mean, because much like my point with Colin Miller, you need some creativity in the lineup, and you've got to be able to take the good with the bad. Yeah, will there be some turnovers? Sure. Some plays that, aren't exactly what you want? Yeah. But, again, live with that, because what he gives you is something that a lot of other guys don't. I think Spooner as a third-line center is an excellent depth piece to have. Particularly behind guys like Bergeron and like Krejci. To Krejci, anyone that thinks the Bruins should trade him for Kevin Shattenkirk's a moron. It's a definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face. Much as they need help on defense, Krejci and David Pastrnak, with him in 1 second, they bring the offensive creativity that really nobody on that team has. And I know you're going to say, oh, you said Spooner does. Spooner's really good and really creative offensively. Krejci and Pastrnak are at that next level, and you don't just replace that. Guys that can create offense, seemingly out of nowhere when you give them time and space. So, again, I don't get why you trade them for Shattenkirk, and I like Shattenkirk. One guy I would trade for Kevin Shattenkirk is a classic sell-high guy. Brad Marchand will be a free agent at the end of the year if they don't sell him. If they don't sign him, he's coming off his best year offensively as a pro, and he's going to want to get paid. And if he's looking for $7 million a year, get the fuck out. Like, seriously. I like Marshy as a player. Obviously, a good guy getting under the skin of your opponent. But it just seems he's another guy that, just to take the good with the bad. And the Bruins have done that with Marchand for a long time, but his stupidity, it's one thing to be a pest and get under the team's skin. Just with him, it gets stupid, and it's obnoxious, and it's a bad look for the team to have him in the lineup. So, we'll see if that changes between now and the end of the season. But, Leopard doesn't change his spots. So, we'll see if he gets that paycheck he so desperately wants. And it's not that I don't think he deserves it. I just don't think that it's what the team should be doing right now. I think it should be trying to get younger. And not that Marchand's an old hair by any means. He's 28. But, I think his time with this team has come. Let him, flip him for some assets and try to get this rebuild going. And I think that makes sense. And, he was great in 2011. He's had some decent moments in the playoffs, but sometimes it's, as Tom Petty said, it's time to move on. So, we'll see. Again, I would not break the bank for him. I've maligned Jimmy Hayes so much over the last few years, I don't even know what else there is to say. I like Matt Bolesky, nice player, fits what the team's all about. Guy that no matter where you are in the standings, I kind of like having on the team. And Riley Nash, I like that signing. And had that happen a couple years ago and the team was still good, I really would have liked it, because I think he's a guy that can definitely help you win some hockey games, in the right role. I think he was kind of miscast in Carolina a little bit, but we'll see what happens. My prediction is this Bruins team, they're out of the playoffs, and this could be close last year in Boston. This isn't going to be one of those out-of-nowhere success stories. They're not going to catch people by surprise. They're just not that good anymore, to quote Trent Dilfer. So, anyway, that's all I got. So to the Power Play with CJ. Stay tuned for episodes throughout the off-season and beyond. Later, guys.